Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time each and every week and spending it here with us on NACTV. I'm Eoin, Devereux, journalist with the Banner Press, welcoming you to the show for this week's edition. And I'm joined this week by Casper Wehrhahn. Casper, good to have you here.
Good to be here once again, and I sure hope that people are taking care of themselves in this heat. As far as I recall, I think we're still in a heat warning, but in contrast with that, I think we have some pretty cool things to go through in this week's paper. Like it is a lighter paper this week, I admit. We're 16 pages, but still full of good stuff. Just we're a little lighter on stories this week, aren't we?
It's too hot to work. It really is. I hope if you're watching this right now, you're watching this with either a fan nearby or a little bit of AC cranked to full volume, because as we record this show right now, it is 31 degrees out there in Neepawa, so it is under a tremendous heat wave that we are dealing with. In the grand scheme of things, though, it could be a lot worse. Some record-setting temperatures were occurring in British Columbia just the other day, where they were hitting 40 degrees Celsius. I don't know about you, Casper. I don't know how I can't deal in any way, shape, or form with those types of temperatures. Something like that, even something like 30, is a little too much for me. I'm from the my family's European. You know, we don't know how to deal with the heat the same way maybe some Canadians and Americans, traditional Canadians and Americans, know how to deal with it. It is just, there's a reason why I'm wearing all black today. Because in this half hour, I am going to lose 3 to 5 pounds. No word of a lie. It's just going to be that type of weather.
It really is, yeah, and I'm right there with you. I mean, my family background is German, Irish, and Scottish, and that's probably as white as you can get. And I do not deal with the heat very well at all. I have to be honest with you, I don't think I can even stand the 30. I think I kind of tap out around like 25.
Yeah.
So this is really quite something to deal with.
Yeah. Having said that, those 2.5 to 3 weeks in September where it's perfect weather, oh, that's the sweet spot right there. Well, let's not get there yet. We still got a lot of summer to talk about and a lot of summer festivities and activities that we're going to be able to enjoy and be able to cover for you on the pages of the Banner Press. And that starts right now in terms of the front page of this week's edition of the newspaper. I had a chance last weekend to head down to Carberry and take in, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, their 138th edition of the Carberry Fair and Races. It is an amazing summer and ag tradition for Western Manitoba. Very well attended each and every year. I was down there on the Friday evening to be able to take in some of the chariot races as well as some of the chuck wagon races. And if you've never seen it live and in person, you genuinely are missing out on something. Even if you're not a person who is big into the quote-unquote ag community or the Western community, there's still something you can take from it. We have a whole variety of pictures from the festivities that I was able to get. Some really amazing action shots. You know, they've got the whole setup there, the grandstand, along with the racetrack. They were doing several races throughout the weekend. Weather, for the most part, held up. On Saturday and Sunday, there were touches of overcast, little sprinkles of rain here and there, but for the most part, it was a lot better than what was initially forecast for the weekend. I went down there on Friday because that was supposed to be, allegedly, the only sunny and warm day that it was going to be. That Saturday we're going to get hit with rain, Sunday we're going to get hit with rain, but for the most part, it held off in a lot of spots there, which was great. Because you don't want to see great events like this, which are always well attended and well presented, to be sort of rained out due to Mother Nature. So it was fun. It's the second straight year as well, Casper, that I've been down at that. Mm-hmm. I don't recall. Have you ever had a chance yourself to head down and see it for yourself?
I've not, but I've always heard really good things about it, of course, from your accounts and other people in the area that have gone to it. And like, obviously being there yourself is a whole different experience, but even just like looking at the photos, you can tell how well interesting and fun this event is, and how well organized and put on it is. And I mean, it draws a great crowd every year, and it's no wonder that it does with everything that there is there to go and see and watch and do. And like, not being from an ag background myself, events like these are interesting and fun to go to, even if you're not from an ag background. So it's really a good thing to go to for the community and get some entertainment for everybody.
That's right. If you weren't able to go down there, though, you can see the front page of this week's edition of the Banner Press, and as well a montage of pictures right on page 16, right on the back there. So if you couldn't be there in person, maybe you can sort of experience it on a visual aspect in this week's edition of the newspaper. There was also one other thing I wanted to spotlight from the ag races, the ag fair and races this year. There was a commemoration on Friday night, and I'm very glad that I was there for this and to be able to share this information with you, our consistent and loyal viewers here on NAC TV, and our consistent and loyal readers of the Neepawa Banner Press. It was focused on William Birch, a gentleman I have to admit I didn't know much about going into this, but has been a great individual and so inspiring and helpful for the Carberry Agricultural Society and for the community of Carberry for 5 decades. He was commemorated on Friday night. The Carberry Ag Society gave him a lifetime membership and an honor in a new honor that they have. They just installed it last year. It was the Memorial Bell Tower. Essentially what it was is the bell that was used for many generations. It was rung during the ag events, and it brought the riders in, it prepared them, and did all that stuff. So they set up a little memorial tower right next to the grandstands in Carberry, and on the posts they have the names of all the individuals throughout the years who have been a beneficiary, a supporter, a volunteer, who have helped the Carberry Ag Society to be as successful as it is and to consistently be as viable as it is. You don't even realize how important these types of things are to some communities until you lose them. Carberry has such a strong ag society that it feels like it's entrenched in their community. That's the big part of it. And the reason why it's entrenched is because of individuals such as William Birch. A half-century of dedication, a half-century of volunteerism. Think about that for a second. Think about you, sitting at home right now. Maybe you have. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you haven't even reached 5 decades yet, so you can't. But imagine dedicating 5 decades, 50 years of your life towards something beyond you. Not just benefiting you on a monetary stance or anything like that, but just because it's the right thing to do for your community. Like, that definitely deserves that type of notification, and I'm very glad that I was able to be there in that moment to see it. If I had shown up on Saturday, or if I had shown up on Sunday, I wouldn't have heard about this. I would have missed out on it. So that's the luck of the draw sometimes when it comes to news, on-the-spot news. I was there Friday night. I was covering the event. They announced it. We're going to do this. There was a presentation at the grandstands. I was able to cover it. I was able to get this information and share this information with you. So I'm glad, and I do hope that you will take a moment or two of your time to check that story out, which is on page 2 of this week's edition of the Banner Press. Like, Casper, you've still got at least 3 decades to go, 4 or 5 decades to go before you know. But just, what is your take on something like that for somebody who sees value in giving back like that?
I mean, it's fantastic, and the commitment itself is just, well, it's very significant. It's very commendable as well, and so seeing that honored for William in that way is, I think, very touching, and definitely highlights the slightly lost my train of words that I was going there with that.
Trains. They had trains down there. Model trains down there as well. So, It's actually a very good segue. You moved it over to the model trains,
So
which you can see those pictures on page 16 as well. So.
Yes.
But as you were saying.
But no, it's great to see him recognized and, have his name up there on that memorial monument as well. And I sort of just in touching with the memorial monument itself, I think it's a fantastic thing to have. I mean, it's got a significance to the community's history on its own, but then it's also got the history of individuals that are important to the community and have contributed to the community in such a way as William Birch here has as well. And so I think it makes for, just a great monument and a testament to the community spirit.
That's right. And once again, you can find that story. It's on page 2 of this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner Press. Actually, Casper, I think I'm going to jump ahead to your story here as well. That is also on page 2. Because actually, now that I think about it, it does segue quite nicely in a way to this. We talk about the dedication, giving 50 years towards something, towards a local cause. And it reminds me of, I'll personalize this a bit. It reminds me a bit of my time. If you're a consistent viewer of the show, you know I dedicated several years to Neepawa tourism, supporting that endeavor. Served as its board chair for several years as well, and worked with them in their highs and lows, their tides and crests, as they tried to establish themselves and continue, I should emphasize that, continue to establish themselves. They see great value in supporting the community of Neepawa in one way or another, and one of those was very much the Makers Market, the Riverbend Makers Market, something that was started during my tenure. I'd love to take credit for it, but I was just a small cog in that bigger wheel, as it were. There were individuals that really stepped up for that and continue to step up, but we have some rather unfortunate updates on that for this year's edition, don't we, Casper?
We sure do. I was very sad to hear this news, of course, because as Eoin said, it's a event that has been going on for a few years now and sort of became a new tradition for the community. But the Riverbend Makers Market for this year is unfortunately having to cancel, so it will be not held this year. They cited a lack of the required board members and volunteers just to help the event run smoothly and properly for all the stuff that's required and whatnot. So for that reason, they did need to cancel it. I was happy to hear though that they're at least still doing something around this time, July 20th. And they are going to be hosting a street party. So that's kind of nice. They're still doing like musical event and whatnot, and it still coincides with the annual raft event as well. So there's still going to be things going on. It just unfortunately won't include the market this year.
Yeah. And again, that's the thing. Most people don't realize, don't understand the little complexities and the difficulties and all the little work that goes in behind the scenes to get something like this organized. About 95, 96, well, let's be honest, 99% of a community doesn't realize all the hours, sweat, and tears that go behind organizing an event like the Riverbend Makers Market, like the Carberry Ag Fair and races, like all these types of events. So when they don't come off, when they don't move forward, when they have to be postponed or canceled, most people just see it's like, well, failure. It's whatever it is. I mean, but there were people that stepped up for that, stepped up, committed their time, committed their efforts, and it still failed. That is so frustrating for them. Like, for all the things that occurred on this, I hope you just don't think, well, nobody cares about it. There are people that care. There are a number of people behind the scenes who do not get the credit, who perhaps don't get the credit, such as William Birch as an example, that are still working behind the scenes. But I'm glad to see that they're still going to do something, because you want that. You want that for this type of community. Neepawa has a lot of heck with it, I'll say it. Neepawa has a lot of problems. They got a lot of problems, but then again, what other community doesn't? It's just our problems are unique to ourselves. We don't have the same strength of an ag society, let's say, as Carberry. That's the reality of it. We don't have the same facilities to be able to put something on to that same degree as Carberry. And don't get me wrong, the ag grounds are tremendous for Neepawa. They are great. They just don't have the grandstand, for example, is a great example of that. They don't have the same size or scope of it. But it is what it is. We still have tremendous baseball facilities and softball facilities for there. So what we lack in one facet, we more than make up for in another. That's just the yin and yang of any society. And we got to compete as a tourism board against, well, some difficult competition. We don't have Rock in the Fields in Minnedosa. We don't have Country Fest. We don't have a beach like Minnedosa Lake. We got to bring people into our community in different ways. So it's good to see that people on Neepawa Tourism are trying to figure out those ways. And sometimes they'll fail. But sometimes they succeed. They succeed in a big way. So if you have your own time and your own commitments, that's understandable. But if you see giving beyond yourself to the community of Neepawa, hopefully you'll volunteer. And I know I say this with a little bit of hypocrisy behind me, because I'm not on that board anymore. But I did do several years, not 50, not 50, so I'm not getting no plaque. But I did several years behind it and gave a lot. But I hope maybe, even if it doesn't have to be 50. It doesn't. It doesn't even have to be 3. It doesn't have to be 4. Even just a year of your time to support a cause, like tourism, or like something else in this community. We always need somebody to step up, and hopefully you'll be that person that steps up. I think I'm going to get off my little soapbox now. We're going to move on to another good example of people in this community stepping up, seeing beyond themselves, and supporting Neepawa. And I talk, of course, about the Neepawa Area 4-H Society. They recently had their Fat Stock Show and Sale, which goes on each and every year. It's the first week of July that it occurs. It is a huge, tremendous generator of interest, not just for Neepawa, but for all around. This is what I talk about. I don't think I was slagging or being overly rough on the ag grounds just because they don't have some grandstands. They still have some tremendous facilities to be able to put on a show the size of the 4-H stock show. There were a lot of people that were out for that event, and we're always appreciative of the coverage and pictures that we get from it. There have been previous years, again, I'll shoot straight with you. This is what the show is all about. There have been previous years where we're able to get out there ourselves and cover the event, but this year and last year we're not able to. I'll shoot straight with you. We're relatively short-staffed compared to what we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We do the best we can with the man hours, the person hours, the hours in the day that we have. So we're always appreciative of groups like 4-H who step up and support us by sending us this type of information. We wish we could have been there, but you know, there's only so, like I said, there's only so many hours in the day. So.
Yeah, and yeah, it really is unfortunate because you know, whether it was me or Kira or Eoin going out there in previous years, it was quite the event to attend. I mean,
or other Kira, or Tony, or that other one. I'm forgetting a name right now. There was other ones, or Kate.
Yeah.
Or like, there's like, I've worked nearly 20 years in this business, and I have worked with enough people that I've forgotten their names, remembered their names in random, and forgotten their names again. I'm almost into the thousands now. Mm-hmm. The people I've worked with over the years. That's what the reality of this business is. Actually, yeah, that's the weird thing. Actually, now that I think about it, Casper, In terms of people I've worked with for the longest single stretch of time, strangely enough, Diane Warner is number one on that list right now. But you might be second on the list right now. Actually, there was somebody I worked with for about 5.5 years at CKLQ in Brandon. How long have you been here at the Banner Press again?
Since partway through 2018. Yeah, so a while now. Yeah.
So yeah, you're probably coming up on that. You're second on that list right now of people I've worked consistently with over the years. Congratulations, you win nothing.
Yippee! It's what I've always wanted. How did you know?
Nothing. It's everything I didn't expect. But yeah, that's just the reality of it. So we're always appreciative of 4-H. I got off on a little diatribe on the show. If you're a consistent viewer of the show, you know that. That's probably what keeps you coming back. You're just waiting for when's the day is finally going to snap. It's probably got a sort of, there's a ongoing bet going there. Oh, he's finally lost it. It's over.
Where's my $100?
Yeah. But yeah, no, like I said, we were talking about the 4-H. They are such a good organization for Neepawa area, and they're still so strong after all those years. We talked about some come and go, some ebb and flows that each little community organization has to deal with. But to see 4-H continue to, year over year, produce not only great events like this, but very good citizens. That's a big part of 4-H as well, is about, you know, what they instill in these young people.
Exactly, yeah. It's definitely a very multifaceted group to get involved with. It's got so much youth participation there from varying ages. Like there's very young folks in there all the way up to teens or young adults or whatever, and it's just great to see each and every year these individuals get out there and be involved and build up their skills, their different skills that they're able to further develop in this group, and just to have it keep going each and every year is awesome.
Because again, that's something that I, growing up, never had, because I was raised in northern Manitoba. And northern Manitoba, when I say northern Manitoba, I mean northern Manitoba. You know, we didn't have any farms up there, anything like that. Cattle, nothing like that. So we didn't have a 4-H. We didn't need a 4-H. So I didn't grow up with that as part of sort of my development as a youngster. So it's interesting to see it as someone who's been outside of that perspective and to see what it instills in these young people. So it is fantastic, and to see it continue to be a very, very healthy part of Neepawa. So if you want to get a little bit of information, some pictures, and some further details on all the results, you can find it on pages 7, 8, and 9 of this week's edition of the Banner Press. Remember, as always, physical copies of the Banner Press can be found not only here in Neepawa, but in communities throughout Western Manitoba. 30 different communities throughout Western Manitoba have copies of our paper. We go into Minnedosa, Carberry, Gladstone, even all the way down to Brandon. So we're always appreciative of those who pick up a copy of the paper, because that keeps us going. But if you're not unable to get a physical copy of the paper, always remember, every Friday morning you're going to be able to see a version of it online on mywestman.ca. Don't forget, online each and every week in around 9 o'clock Central Time on mywestman.ca. All right, let's talk about something that everybody, for the most part, the last week or two has sort of been paying attention to, watching from afar, and now you don't need to watch it from afar because they opened up earlier this week. It is a new business in Neepawa, and it's a business that many communities, many rural communities, don't really ever get a chance at. So that makes it even more of an interesting and intriguing attraction. Talking about Chucky's Liquidation Store. And we're going to put a spotlight on them right now. It is a new business, brand new business for Neepawa. It opened up last Tuesday. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, liquidation stores essentially, they put in bids on extra stock from businesses, stores, department stores, conglomerates all over North America. and the extra stock or stock that didn't sell or maybe slightly damaged gets sent here, and it's sold at an unbelievable price. So it's really nice to see something like that, because you only usually see that, Casper, in places like Winnipeg or big cities like Winnipeg or even Brandon.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I've never gone into a liquidation store so far, so I don't really have experience with them, but the concept sounds very interesting, so I'm kind of curious what all we can expect to find here at Chucky's going forward.
The interesting thing, if you have on your shopping list that you need a new shirt, a jigsaw, an inflatable hot tub, and some toilet paper, then you can all get it in one spot.
Oh my goodness.
And next week, if you need an electric drill, a toothbrush, and a sectional, you can get it all in one spot. Like that's the interesting thing, kind of the unique aspect of a store like this. And I use it in the headline as well. You never know what store you're going to get from week to week, because they really, for the most part, don't know what kind of store they're going to get from week to week. That's why you got to go in there and grab something. It sounds like it's doing a hard sell right now. It's not. You know, if they want to do some advertising, we wouldn't mind that. I'll tell you that. But again, that's part of the mandate of what a newspaper should be. When it comes to the business section of it, if a new business moves into a community, that's news. If an existing business moves to a different location after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, that's an advertisement. If an existing business moves after 50 years, that's news. I didn't make the rules. Maybe I did just a little bit, but that's essentially sort of the breakdown of it type thing. So this is a new business, so it counts under news, although starting next week, it'll count under advertising perhaps. Again, these are hard and fast rules. Who knows what's going on with that? But it is kind of interesting. I've gone to a couple liquidation stores in Winnipeg from time to time. It is very convenient, and sometimes you do find some unusual treasures there that you weren't expecting.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I would be kind of curious to go and take a look at myself, just to kind of see what exactly is out there. And
Casper's over there. It's not ventriloquism, I swear.
Or is it? No, my voice impressions are not that good. But yeah, it'd be nice to kind of go and see what sort of variety of stuff you can see there, and what maybe will jump out if I were to go and take a look there. And the description that you gave, Eoin, of the business and like how it works is kind of interesting. Yep. It's kind of a bit like the business that we're in, the newspaper business. We also don't really know quite often what we're going to get from week to week for stories. We just kind of find out as they come up and pursue them from there. So kind of interesting. That's
right. There's so much more as well. We only got a minute or so left in this week's broadcast that we could have talked to you about. We didn't even get into the sports section with the Neepawa Cubs on an incredible hot streak heading into the playoffs, or talking about the Neepawa Senior Open. That great tournament, was held earlier this week, and we got all the results from that you can find inside the sports section, or even Ken Waddell's weekly editorial, Helen's Kitchen, recipes, so many things that she brings to the table, literally and figuratively. But that's why you got to pick up a copy of the paper. And don't forget, as we said, you can find it anywhere in Neepawa and 30 other surrounding communities throughout Western Manitoba. If you ever have a story idea or suggestion, we do appreciate it. Sometimes they slip through the cracks, I'll be honest with you, but we try and hit each and every one of them as best we can. And you can send those information and insights to us at news@neepawabanner.com, or you can send it via phone, 476-3401. We're already working on a couple different things for the upcoming edition of the paper. But if you do have any other suggestions or anything like that, it is always appreciated. Keeps us busy, even though we're a little busy already. So keep us busier. So that pretty much does it for this week. Casper, thank you as always for stepping in on the show.
Yeah, thanks again for having me, and looking forward to another one.
And again, thank you. We're here because of you. Please continue to tune in each and every week to the Story Behind the Stories and NAC TV, your community television station. Have yourself another fantastic week.